Hello, this is Martin Pitt from the Cockpit team. I have been working on smart card-based authentication in Cockpit, and I have a first proof of concept now, which I want to demonstrate today. A major use case for that has been to replace a putty-cac based solution to get a terminal from, for example, Windows machines. Putty-cac hasn't been maintained for a while, so Cockpit is a candidate for replacing this with a browser-based terminal solution. So because of that, I don't only want to show the actual authentication with a smart card, but also give some emphasis on various ways how to integrate the terminals. So this demo lives in a branch of mine in GitHub, and the README should explain everything you need to run. But of course, unlike every good cooking show, I already pre-ran this for you, so that you don't have to wait for everything. What this does is it sets up one identity management server in a virtual machine that has a user Jane, and a second virtual machine with RHEL 8 that runs Cockpit and is joined to that identity management domain. The first step is to just show the status quo with the standard user and password authentication. So the demo tells you what to do, you just need to follow it. So this is your new virtual machine, and we default to self-signed certificates, so we need to accept that first. And like normally, we can log in as user Jane with the password here. So that shouldn't be too surprising. This is how Cockpit has worked for many years. So here, since Jane is an administrator in free IPA, she can actually do administrative actions here, like shutting down a machine. And Cockpit always had a built-in terminal, which we can see here. So we see we are Jane, and since Jane is an admin, she can also do sudo in the terminal. So far, so good. As a next step, we enable certificate-based authentication in Cockpit. That needs to happen explicitly. We don't do it by default for various reasons. And since this is a proof of concept, the configuration option name is a bit funny right now. And now we have two options. If you don't have a smart card reader, you can just import the certificate in PKCF12 format into your browser. And if you do have a smart card reader, as I do, and a smart card, you can put that certificate onto the smart card instead, which is what I'm going to show here. So I have a smart card reader with a smart card in it, which is currently blank. So let's create a Jane user there first and give it some trivial pins. So, and import that certificate for Jane from FreeAPA to the card. And voila, if we ask the smart card what object it has, it now lists a key for user Jane. And in recent distributions of Linux like Fedora, Firefox is configured to automatically recognize smart card readers, so it should work out of the box. So if we now open Firefox again, it will ask me for the PIN of the smart card and ask me which certificate to present to the to Cockpit. Of course, I picked the one from the smart card. And if all goes well, it should authenticate to Cockpit without asking me for anything else. So we see we are still Jane. But since in this scenario we don't integrate sudo yet because sudo doesn't have a password from the login screen, we currently cannot do administrative actions. Whether this is desired or a shortcoming of the proof of concept, that still needs to be decided. And in particular, of course, we still have a terminal. But right now, in this scenario, if you would use sudo, this wouldn't actually work, because in the scenario we have in mind, Jane wouldn't have a password. So in the next certificate, we have an alternate option to present the terminal. The next scenario, of course, we have an alternate option of presenting the terminal by configuring Cockpit to only show the terminal and nothing else. So this most closely resembles the putty-cac solution, where we don't have any of the cockpit navigation, you just have a pure terminal. And yet another way would be to have a separate root terminal. So this avoids the possible confusions around sudo and the password, and having to teach sudo in that terminal to get back to the smart card through Cockpit and the browser and your remote machine, which is pretty difficult to do. So aside from the normal terminal, we could also have a separate root terminal, which just gives you a root shell right away. So possibly this could ask you to insert a smart card or pick a different certificate, although this is rather difficult to do with current browsers, so we need more research whether this is actually possible. So this is it. Thanks for your attention. And please do consider the README of the demo in GitHub and go through the current caveats. Thank you.